Hi Tribe, I'm Evelyn and this is Demon Dialogues, a place on Objectively Type where we talk about everybody's favorite topic, our demons. And so here's another Demon Dialogue from the field, from the forest. So today I want to talk a little bit about the feminine aspects of our personality type. So previously I've already talked about the masculine, right? So one of the new things in Objective Personality System is the idea that our cognitive functions kind of have a gender charge, as we call it. So I've previously talked about the two where you're masculine, where the world just feels unmovable. And for me, it's the extroverted decider and the sensory. So the sensory really feels solid. The tribe really feels really solid for me. The reasons feel super solid for me. But what about the flip side of that? So where are your feminine? So we have both. And that's the thing, like as a holistic human, just like we have both introvert and extrovert parts, you know, when people say like, I'm an extrovert, I mean, yeah, like in a shorthand you are, but you have some introverted parts. And so like, I'm very extroverted, but I have some internal introverted parts as well. Similarly, we have our masculine parts and we have our feminine parts. So my type happens to be double masculine, but I still have feminine parts. In fact, my top savior, my NE as an ENFP is feminine. I have feminine NE. So my saviors are actually feminine NE and masculine TE. So in that respect, I'm not even leading from a function standpoint with a masculine function. So today I wanted to unpack and explore those feminine sides, if you will, especially of my own type and how it shows up in my life. And then maybe you can think about, how does it show up for you? How does it show up in your life? If you know your type, you know, how have you experienced your feminine functions? So as I've already mentioned, I have feminine NE at the top and I have feminine FI. So actually, again, as an ENFP, NEFI, they're both feminine. So my NF world is double feminine. It's very movable, very fluid, very receptive. These are what we call the feminine attributes. I've known about the whole idea of masculine and feminine for a long time, even before finding the Objective Personality System. And the way I like to think about it is masculine is kind of like rigid, unyielding, you know, very, you know, penetrating, right? Whereas feminine is more receptive, it's more open, more fluid. And you need both in life. You cannot be completely rigid and completely fluid. You need a balance in order to be a holistic human being. Like that's something I strongly believe in. I strongly do believe in finding that feminine and masculine balance. Like, you know, I'm obviously a woman, but there are aspects of me that are more masculine, right? But I still value and see the balance in both. So my feminine functions, my NE and FI, like as much as I just said that I find a value in them, it is kind of a challenge for me. Like one of my big life's challenges and something that I'm really working with right now is my feminine FI. So as an ENFP, FI is my second function. So I'm very consciously aware of my FI. My FI is very strong, if you will, but because it's feminine, it feels insecure, if you will. And that is what I have, when I've talked to others who have a feminine, well, we all have a feminine decider and a masculine decider, right? And so like when I've talked to those who have like, for example, feminine TE, their TE still feels not secure, like insecure, even if they're feminine TE savior. Like you might have seen my interview with Kendrick about a week ago now. Kendrick, fellow ENFP jumper, NETE, except for that his TE is feminine. And the way that he describes it is that it feels insecure. So even though it's his savior, it still feels insecure. And I can completely relate to that when it comes to my FI. Even though my FI is my second function, it feels very insecure. And so I'm kind of like looking to the tribe, which is very solid, to kind of give me context and give me a read on what I should do. And so a lot of the work that I've been doing, I would say just in the past few weeks, really, like this is like a past month or so, has been to really, I'll say, narrow down, or not narrow down, but like nail down that FI. So the wonderful thing about having a movable FI is that I'm very sort of movable with my feelings, which can be really beautiful and really awesome, and movable with my values, which means I'm able to hold space for a lot of people with different values from me and not sort of punch on those of like, this is the right value and this is the wrong value, you know. I think that feminine FI gives us, those of us who have feminine FI, it kind of opens up compassion. And I'm not saying that those with masculine FI are not compassionate, but again, like what I've seen from the masculine FIs is like, if you get on their shit list, you're kind of on their shit list, and it's hard to like move that FI. Moving their FI is really difficult, whereas those of us feminine, it's naturally movable, which can make it vulnerable. And so one of the challenges for us, especially with feminine FI demon, is to allow that vulnerability and kind of show it to the world, which is scary because the world is what's not movable for us. So those are sort of the wonderful parts about it. But the challenge I've had is because my FI is feminine, it's like, how do I know, like, how do I trust what I know I FI want, if that makes sense? I'm going to say that again. How do I trust what I know I FI want? Because, again, it's my second function. I am usually well aware of it, but I don't trust it because it feels insecure. It feels scary to go into my FI. And Shannon has feminine FI. For her, it's a fourth function. She's an EJ, so it's even harder. And I know she talks about throwing her FI to the wolves and like seeing if it will harden up. And even she said like, oh man, it's still a movable, you know, whatever, movable bitch or whatever. I can't remember the exact words, but to me, it's not about throwing it to the wolves. For me, it's about really getting to know my FI, getting to know those feminine parts, and allowing and kind of, yeah, pairing them with the more masculine part. So in my case, my masculine SI is really good for this, my masculine introverted sensing. So what I need to do for my feminine FI to kind of give it its space is to write it down or draw it in a vision board or do something like that. Like make it sensory real to kind of narrow that down. Because in my particular case, my intuition is also feminine. And so what does that mean? What is feminine NE? So NE is already gathering across a wide spectrum. Feminine NE is now, you know, movable on that spectrum. There was this really great graphic that they showed once in a class of like a river system going to the ocean, and they said that that's like feminine NE, and it is. There's like tons of lots of connections that kind of go towards the future, and they're very movable and they go around the sensory, right? And that has also been hard for me to trust. So I'll have my intuition, I have my path in mind, or a variety of paths because I'm an NE, but I don't trust them, right? They're not secure. So again, it's the same thing. Let me pair that to my masculine TE, which it naturally is for me as my saviors, but it's like, okay, what can I get to work in reality of all these ideas, of all this movable stuff? Let's execute in reality. And for me personally, I feel like that's one of the superpowers of my type as an NETE is we're great execution machines because we've got that TE paired with this NE. We're able to look at a ton of different options and then find the ones that work. Like bang the blocks together until it works, right? So there you go. The feminine side is wonderful in a lot of ways. And I actually love my feminine functions, my NE and FI, because I'm an ENFP. They are what makes me an ENFP. They are who I am. You know, I've come to realize that while I do a lot of NT, and like, yeah, I'm an NT in some respects too. I'm a block banger. It's what I do inside. I'm an NF. I'm a NT with a side order of NF with my play consume, right? And so I love my NF side and I love that it's feminine. It's just a matter of how can I work with that. So even though this is called Demon Dialogues and I'm talking a little bit about one of my saviors and then one of my demons, the reason I'm putting this here is because I think a lot of people feel like I need to harden my feminine parts. And what I'm trying to say is you don't have to harden your feminine parts. It's really a matter of making that space to allow your feminine parts to do their thing, if you will. So anyway, I'd love to hear from you guys on your feminine parts. What parts of your personality either are feminine, like if you're beneficially typed, or that you think are feminine? Like, do you say to yourself, oh yeah, I've got that feminine FI, you know, I'm so movable with the feelings? Or do you say, I've got feminine FE? Like, I know a lot of people with feminine FE. Yeah, that one is an interesting one because they're looking at sort of the spectrum of tribe values and feelings, and they're kind of moving around that, and their masculine TI is in there, and it's very interesting to watch that dynamic. So let me know, comment below, and until next time, guys, maybe from another forest, who knows? Bye.